So, ladies and gentlemen, you're once again welcome to the Kingdoms podcast. And today, you can see the excitement on my face. I have a guest that I respect so much. I place so much high esteem and very high premium, elite level premium on this person. So, amongst the so many hats that she wears, I describe her as so many things. First, she's a mother, she's a teacher, she's a leader, she's a finance professional, she's a chartered accountant, she's a businesswoman, she's a clergy and a philanthropist, among so many things. Please make welcome. Ask that is that is Pastor Funke Adefunke Sharon Kasali. Welcome, ma'am. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I've been looking forward to this, and I'm happy that we're having the opportunity to do this after quite a while.
Yes. Good things they say take time, and very glad that you're finally on board. So, delving right straight into the questions that I get to meet you. Like, how would you describe yourself on a personal basis, in a nutshell?
Wow. Well, I mean, to describe myself, I would say child of God, lover of God's people, lover of people. Um, kind of a disciplined person. I like things to be in order. I seriously don't like when things are not aligned or where there is chaos. Um, I am a teacher, so I like to teach. I teach using any and every kind of situation. I seem to always find something to teach from any situation I find myself. What else can I say about myself? I think I am a smart worker. Not just a hard worker, but
Smart
I
work
try
over
to
hard
work
work.
smartly. Yes. So, but I like to have fun. I like to laugh. I'm not always serious, but I'm an achiever and I like to get things done. So every day I have goals for every week. I come up with goals, and every day I have things that I want to achieve. And at the end of the day, I look at my list and see, did I achieve the things that I wanted to achieve, and why not? Don't beat myself up about not achieving every single thing, but it does help me to be focused and to be disciplined about what I want to achieve on every day. So yeah, I think that would be nutshell.
Oh wow, that is more than a nutshell. Because for me, I admire you a lot, and even with what you said, I draw like a lot of inspiration because of certain core values that I have observed from a person like yourself, right? I see you as that professional who is able to balance life as a godly leader and a business person and also a family person. So like achieving success across like the different roles of life is something that is highly admirable. And in order to understand a person, right, like as where you are, it's always essential to have a look back at their childhood, because I think a lot of the values that adults tend to portray or demonstrate are actually picked up, in the course of their childhood. So that actually leads me to the next question to you. So, how was your childhood and growing up like?
It was good. It was good. My good. I was raised in um, a Christian family, and I had a lot of attention from my dad in particular. both my parents, but my dad especially affirmed me a lot. So well, it always made me feel special. And I think in a lot of ways it contributed that I became.
And hear you. So I paused the recording, so I have resumed it. So you can just like pick up.
Thank you. Okay, thanks. So my upbringing was such that, we went to church, we did the right things, we were taught values of, speaking the truth, um, respect for elders, hard work. We had chores as children. But like I said, I'm fun. So, one of my chores as a child, very early age, maybe 7, 8, I remember, I was supposed to clean the front of our yard, right? The front yard. And there was no grass. And so I was supposed to sweep it every day. And I made designs out of the broom on the sand, as just so that it would be fun. So I always looked forward to it because I created these beautiful designs every day. And so I had a good, healthy, childhood. That was disciplined, but there was a lot of love. I had loads of uncles and aunts around, and we used to all eat together. And so I think it kind of fostered a very healthy, emotional perspective in me. I saw myself as being very loved, very cared for. I mean, I was disciplined. I was, but so I grew up with that mindset that there was really no one I couldn't talk to or face, and have a conversation with, because of that kind of childhood that I had. Yeah.
Interesting. So, like, who were your early childhood influences, or let's say early life influences, basically childhood, teenagehood, right? Those people you looked up to, and like, what were your childhood dreams and aspirations?
Okay. I would say my role models early were my parents. Absolutely. My father doted on me as a girl, and I always tell dads, please, do that for your daughters, because I think it gives women a very healthy perspective about themselves, and they're not looking for love in different places because they've been affirmed and loved as children. So my mom was such a serious also a role model of mine. I could see how she struggled, to make sure that her children were doing well. And so from my mom, I looked at her one day and I said, I mean, I appreciated her so much, and I saw her struggles. And then I said to myself, maybe when I was about 14, I said to myself that I was going to be a very successful, um, successful woman. But then I also said to myself that I was also going to be a successful wife and mother. I was that aware even as a child, because my parents broke up, at some point in my, late, maybe when I was, I don't know, 7, 6, even before then, 5, 6 kind of age. And so that formed my mind to be that, okay, the thing she did, I would love to do, and then even beyond that. So I said to myself, I needed to do this. And it helped me because of those goals. I decided that what would give would never be my family, my marriage, but I was still going to, by God's grace, have a successful, be a successful woman in the marketplace, and so everything else could give. Do you understand? And that's how
Yeah.
basically how I've lived to my life in the last almost 30 years of my life, more or less, truly,
Wow.
with those
Wow. Wow.
goals.
Interesting. I'm about to put you on the spot now because you know you are a woman of wisdom, and I'd like to
Thank you.
would I say yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, yeah. I'd like to pick your brain on something because there was a guest on I think episode 7 of the podcast, and we were discussing about parenthood, right? And the thing is, we are like across different generations. I am a millennial, for example. I think we have the current Gen Zs, right? And these are the kids that are the major youths in the society right now. We see like certain positive traits and also negative traits, with them, and also the Gen Zs and the millennials are the new crop of parents, right? So, but then there are like recent societal nuances that affect parents differently from I think people in your own generation when you were raising children. So like what's like your quick advice to parents of this generation on raising children that will be successful even with the difficulties that we're facing in our own generation?
Okay, very good question. Well, every generation has its own, challenges. For
Absolutely.
me, I think that for the Gen Zs, the millennials, and I have children in your, that those two
Our generation.
those two age group, yes. So one of the things that you guys have that's both a strength and a weakness is social media, right? So you can draw on very positive, good things from social media, but you can also have very, very bad stuff that you can learn, from social media. So one of the things that I would say is be very careful not to raise your children based on everything that you see on social media or you learn from social media, because it's a whole a mixture of the good, the bad, and the very, very, very ugly. And so, as a parent in this new age, be very, very, very wary. Just you know, be very careful. There are some things you can learn, but I think that some of the good things from my generation after mine, and the ones before mine, um, pick those things because they've been tested, right? Raise your children obviously with the fear of God, love for God, right? As much as you can. Now, raise them with positive role modeling. In other words, those things that you don't want to see in them, don't show them. Don't show them. So model what you want them to be. Um, Values like respect for people, not just for elders, respect for people, period, but
Mhm.
especially for elders. Things like that are very important. Raise them with the attitude that fast is not always good. It's not
Mm.
everything that's fast that's good. Because sometimes, this generation, everything is so easy and so fast, and that they learn not to learn some of the values like delayed gratification. So, if they're in a marriage and something is not happening too quickly, then they quit because they don't know how to walk through patiently, to see the end of the matter. So they quit in the middle because they've been used to everything must be quick. It must be perfect. The relationship must be quick, quick, quick. If it does not propose in 3 months, it's over. All those kinds of things. So that's not the way they should raise their children. And also, one of the other ones that I would like to mention is that is not don't give your children everything. Your children don't need to have everything. People say,
Hmm.
oh, I want my children to have all the things that I didn't have. Really? Okay. Including the good things that God took out of you. I mean, the bad things God took out of your way. You want your children to have them. It's not every good thing that is good every time for your child. So a good thing may need to be delayed for the right time, right? And so, but because that generation, your generation has been built to want everything fast, or oh, let me give my child all the things that I couldn't have. I want my children to have. No, some of those things that you didn't have have formed the good you for now, right? So why do you want to hasten your children through that process? It's like that old thing of the caterpillar. If you don't allow it to get through the shell and struggle, it's not going to get all the fluids out of the wing. And if you help it too much, right, give them everything too much too quickly, then they'll never be able to fly because the wings will be too heavy.
Wow. Interesting. So, these actually reminds me of a conversation I was having earlier today with my executive assistant, and then she was like, "Oh, can we have a conversation?" I was like, "About what?" She said about parenting. I was like, "Oh, wow!" But then I'm not a parent yet, but it was because of some conversation in a previous episode. So she was like, "What is the right balance, right, between um, having success with children with unsupervised childhood versus having a totally supervised childhood that is total direction and guidance by parents versus al- allowing children to free range." So me not being a parent, I was like, okay, there are things wherein you should like allow children to be able to develop a sense of judgment, right? And there are a lot of other things that should be a hard yes or no, or do or don't. So I would like for you to shed some light, in terms of parenthood, achieving that balance between total guidance and also helping children to be able to make the right decisions given the kind of moral compass you've been able to create for them.
Okay. Thank you. I'll be happy to. So it's all about timing, right? It's really all about timing. When a child is growing up, of course, you have to supervise them. You have to guide them because basically they've come with this blank sheet, right? So you need to help them to learn things. And then as they grow, you begin to, allow them to show you how well they've understood what you taught them. So you're beginning to let the rope, give it a little bit of allowance. You're not all over them, like, oh, did you do this? Did you do that? And then of course, the child is going to grow and they're going to show you, are they learning? Children are different, right? Some are fast learners, some are slower. They take their time. You may have to tell them all over and over and over again. And some, you tell them once, you tell them twice, they've got it, they run with it. So one of the things that parents do that I think is harmful is that they try and treat all children alike. Children are different. Their personalities are different. Even that their parents, when you raise one, there are 5 years, for instance, between my children. When I was raising the first one, I was so much more into the whole thing. By the time the second one came, I was in in a very tough job. I didn't have so much time, but I tried to be there as best as I could. But there were subtle differences in what I allowed with one versus the other. And of course, I was also learning some of the mistakes that I made with the first. So it was being reflected in the second one. So it's really about timing and about the child. What you want to do is give them the best, teach them. But even beyond what you say, act out what you want. Don't tell them, oh, you must never lie. And then when you have a guest, you go, well, tell them I'm not at home. You just taught them and
Leadership by example.
also unlearned what you taught them and taught them something else, right? So you have to live by example. And, so, and then I think in a lot of ways, people learn as you go on. Nobody came from heaven being perfect fathers and mothers, right? So you learn it too, your own experiences. But then by the time you're having children, you've seen some of the mistakes perhaps that your parents made that were visible to you as a child yourself, you make some corrections. And so I think there is a time when you can't be all over anybody anymore.
Yeah.
Really, by the time your children are around 15, 16, they're almost fully formed with the basic information. So those critical years when they're really learning are 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10, those years are the times you really need to be there, really helping them to learn. When they're teens, you're correcting them more. Of course, you're punishing them when they make mistakes, but you're guiding. By the time somebody is in their late teens, early 20s, is really more advised than anything else.
Mm, wow.
You're just going to
Yeah.
advise them. And that's when wisdom comes in. Sometimes, you have to pick your words carefully. You have to find ways of teaching them in a way that doesn't make it look like you're commanding them, right? So, yeah, I think that's probably.
Wow, thank you very much for this response. And of course, right, it makes me feel like I'm going to be a great parent because
Amen.
by the time my assistant, watches this, I think she would agree that my response sort of aligns with yours. I mentioned something about
Awesome.
the formative, yeah, the formative years, right? You mentioned 8, 9, 10, 11. And I said something that a lot of parents tend to play catch up. You know, they fail during the formative years, and then when they see negative traits, in the teenage years, right, they now try to effect, corrections, whereas they had
Yeah,
actually lost it,
that
in those,
happens.
yeah, those formative years. So I tend to see a lot of parents, in society trying to play catch up, in teenage years, in even in the 20s. But then, where were you when the during the formative years, and what did you actually instill in this, children in the formative years? Well, I'm happy that an expert like yourself, who has been there, done that, has been able to drop words of wisdom, advising people out there. And by God's grace, we hope that we raise a better generation of children going forward. So, with that being said,
Absolutely. Amen.
they say education. Growing up, I used to hear that education is the key, education is the best legacy, right? I'd like for you to speak about like your own education, your academic background, and how you think education has actually contributed to your success in life as a person.
Okay. Well, I went through nursery school and primary school and high school. And I have a bachelor's degree. I have an MBA. I'm a chartered accountant, a certified public accountant in the US, fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants in Nigeria. And so I had my early education in around finance, accounting, so yeah, I feel very blessed. I think I have a good education. In addition to the formal, university, tertiary education, I've got loads of other trainings over the years, 3 weeks here, 2 weeks here, 2 days here, and, all over the place. And so I think education is important. But for me, I think the role of education is to really help people to think.
Mm.
I I kind of see education kind of differently with my children. Now, whilst I push them, I give them everything that I could, lessons and tutorings and all those things. I was never the kind that would, beat them up if they didn't, like come first. or do things like that. Because I really wanted my children to be able to think. So it was more important for me that my children could reason. Can you reason if you were taken out of like a job and put in something else? Or if you are, let's say, an architect, you could not function if you were given the job of an HR person. So for me, education is to help people to think and reason. So, with the exception of very technical professions, excuse me for just a second. So, with the exception of very technical, professions like medicine and law and even architecture and engineering, things like that that are very technical. In the humanities and arts and liberal arts and all those kinds of social sciences and behavioral sciences and stuff, for me, you should be able to do any job with a little bit of learning. You should, if you have a college degree, even if you
Mhm.
don't have a college degree, but especially if you have a college degree. Some of the richest people in this world never went through the walls of a university, at least not for very long,
Mhm.
but they can reason. And so the problem and the challenge that I have with education, especially in Africa, some parts of Africa, and maybe some of the other, third world countries around the world, but particularly in our area here, is that education is about learning that job. So your function, so it's almost like you're put into um, some kind of a mold. And if you have to get out of it, you absolutely cannot survive. And I think that's doing children a disservice. And so when people start teaching children that are 3 and 4, 5 year olds, mathematics and I mean, arithmetic and numbers and stuff like that, I'm thinking, no. What happened to playing with sand? What happened to mixing colors and coming up with brilliant ideas? So that's my point of view about education. Education is very good, but I think what it should do more than anything else is it should help you to reason so that you can reason wide, you can have a different thought. There are just too many people thinking the very same way, and that's why we don't have enough solutions.
Interesting. So, truth be told, I am happy that I share certain connecting dots with yourself, being a finance professional, being a chartered accountant. And I like to think that, and I have observed you as a person over a number of years, and I observe the structure in your thought process. I observe the structure in the way you do things, and I like to attribute that with the education of being a finance professional. Do you agree? Do you share the same sentiment that being a finance professional actually does give you a structure, and you have been able to take that structure as well into other things that you do in your life? Do you agree with that?
Well, I mean, I do have structure. I'm a person that's quite structured, and I think in some ways it can help, especially in the accounting profession, because the
Mhm.
accounting profession is, that you have these things that you have to do, you have principles you have to follow,
Frameworks,
and
principles,
so
concepts.
yeah, exactly. All the concepts. So it helps you to kind of develop that discipline around this is the way things are. um so I would agree, but I would also kind of say that perhaps some of the reasons that the way that I am, the way that I am, is also because of, although I started out my career in audit, so I was an auditor, and then I went into, other areas of finance in treasury management and stuff. But very, very quickly, I was blessed with the opportunity to then move out. So in my early career, I moved out into marketing and into planning and strategic planning, into management and leadership roles and customer service. And so I was so blessed that I was able to get around one of the world's largest corporations and do really so many, many things: procurement, customer service, and finance. I got into a little bit of, IT, and I think all those things help you to have a balance. And
Mhm.
that's why I'm a big proponent, a proponent of being able to push people when you see that they have the capacity to try different things. So you may be an engineer, but we can throw you into human resource to go and see what you can do, or you could be human resource, and we can put you into marketing and see how well you can market products. So I think for me, I think variety is the spice of life when it comes to
Mm.
career and growing in business. Yeah.
Interested. So, from what I pick, with what you're saying, structure and analytical thinking, analytical powers are actually very important, in succeeding, both in life and, of course, in career. You touched about how
Absolutely.
you've been able to like work across like different roles, different functions in the course of your career. I was gonna ask you if you could like touch a bit on maybe the course of your career, right? But then I'd like for you to talk about like the highs and lows, and how some of the low moments have been able to propel you to becoming a better person, and to achieving more, and what are those moments that have been highs, and you look back with fond memories and you're like really proud of.
Okay. Awesome. I mean, interestingly, I think um, the organization where I had the highs, I would also be the one that I had the lows
Oh,
in
wow,
my
wow,
own
interesting.
case. Yes. And for me, the reason that I say it was the highs is because, when you have a leadership role as a chief executive officer, you have so much latitude to be able to drive vision, right? And I'm a visionary. I always, anywhere you see me come to, I'm going to look at it, I'm going to see, my mind is very transformational. And so I'm thinking, oh, what can we do to transform this? And I hate stagnancy and disalignment. I really do. And so having being in that role in the oil and gas sector of a chief executive officer gave me that wonderful opportunity to change and drive process changes, automate things and everything moving. I actually got the organization to almost totally, almost without exception, drive its processes using automation. Everything, including planning, including customer service, including accounts receivable and payables and operations. Everything was literally done without a single paper. So that was the high. That was really wonderful. Now it
Wow,
also
it's
came with the
impressive.
low,
The lows.
and the reason the lows became, because maybe I moved them too quickly, or maybe again the environment was fraught with a lot of dysfunctional behaviors and thoughts and things around integrity. Because every time you automate, you're gonna always improve transparency. right? So if you're in an environment where people don't want anything done transparently because they're benefiting from the dysfunction, then they're going to fight you. And so, of course, then fights ensued, which kind of brought the lows as well. At least one of the lows, probably, yes, without a doubt, the very lowest of the lows. Um, because then they fought dirty. But it was a wonderful opportunity for me. I learned a lot, and it was great whilst it
Interesting.
lasted.
Interesting. So, you were, a leader in, one of Nigeria's top, regulatory authorities when it comes to petroleum, right? And we know how much premium is placed on that resource in the country. Would you like to talk briefly on, how you were able to navigate, achieving organizational goals, achieving your set goals while still upholding, your godly values, because it is a very difficult terrain, especially for godly professionals, and even for godly professionals in the workspace right now. We are faced with a lot of ethical challenges, right? So, would you like give a little bit of advisory on, how to achieve, right, while still upholding, your integrity and what you stand for?
Okay. Well, yes. I mean, look, it's I guess two sides of the same coin. And the one thing was my faith in the belief that God had taken me there, was very, very big for me, because that's what I drew strength from. Was that God had taken me there, and I was there for a purpose, and the purpose was to heal the organization that was there. So I needed to bring in changes. What it also meant was that I was bucking heads with some
Mental
of the people that I
resistance.
met there. Yeah. So when that happens to you, the first thing is that you then cannot be caught sleeping. So you can't say something and do something else because all eyes are on you every time. So there is very little room for error, and so you're going to consistently have to walk the talk. No, the moment you begin to try to deviate and try to manage it and try to do what they're doing, that's it. You open once you open the floodgate, it's very, very difficult to pull it all back once you've let out the water. Very difficult. So you really have to, just stay on that path. Of course, um, my belief is that when you're walking your talk, it gives them less ammunition to use against you, right? And but then you also have to be wise. You have to be clever. You have to find your own people, build your own team. You have to make sure that you have proper documentation. So your approvals must be covered. You must make sure that you've got them, and things you approve, you must make sure that nobody can go and try and pull something else out. um, you know. So it's all of those things. So you need those few people around you that are going to form almost like a shield, especially if you're a CEO, around you to help you, to let you know when things are happening and things are being said, or there's some people are planning something. You need that kind of help. So you can't just go there. Oh, I'm here. No, you've got to have those people that will surround you, because you have more enemies than friends. Okay, so But again, your faith has to be strong. You have to put focus, and focus is very key. You have to be focused. This is what I'm about, and all those things really helped me along the way.
Interesting. It's
Thank God.
interesting to see how the values, yeah, Christian values, right, still like even align with the values of our profession, accounting, for example. So in accounting profession, very early you talked about, very essential attributes like professional behavior, objectivity, professional competence and due care, integrity, these
Yeah,
things, right, like still, align with the values of the profession. But from what you said, I see it's always, right to stand for what is right, and that actually
absolutely.
keeps your integrity intact. So with that being said, I'm going to ask you, like, how did you get into the Christian ministry, and like who were your early role models and mentors, in the faith? Because it's one thing to be successful as a professional, it's another thing to also be successful, as a clergy leader. Like, how did you get into it?
Okay. I got married first of all to a pastor. But before I got married to him, I kind of knew that I was going to be in ministry. So I went to, and I wanted to deepen my knowledge of the Bible. I, and I had resisted going for a while. It's like, I'd been for years, in fact. Um, I kind of felt the calling tugging at my heart. But eventually, I gave in. I thought, because I heard God clearly tell me that it was the time, and so I went to Bible school, and that's where I met my husband. So and so I had myself had known that I was going to go into ministry, and my role model, my number one role model, is my husband. He's my pastor. He's my role model. He's so I'm not big on running around looking for people. I'm not very big on that. I honor God's grace upon the lives of his servants, but I'm not the sort that jumps around, I got to check this person. I really don't do it. But my husband is my role model, number one for sure.
Interesting. I see. I think you are blessed. You are actually like extremely
Uh,
abundantly blessed, having a husband who is also a mentor, role model, and who's your pastor.
right.
Like, no, I think a lot of people want to be in your shoes. So I think it's something you should be grateful for. So
Totally, totally, totally.
hmm. That actually being said, like in the Christian ministry, like definitely there have been highs and lows. The journey definitely has not been smooth. Like what has like yeah, what have maybe a few of those highs and lows, and like how are you still going on and I feel like how has it been, the journey, highs and lows, and how do you keep going?
Well, I thank God. God is the one that gives the grace. You can't do ministry without grace. At least if it's ministry you're doing, and not whatever you want. So you depend on God's grace. Ministry is demanding. Because you're handling lives. You're teaching. Your words, carry weight. People come to me sometimes and they say, Pastor, I got through because of your words to me for this number of years. It was your word. It was your word. I looked forward to hearing your word. So when you hear that, you don't just go and preach any nonsense, go to the pulpit and start or telling stories or just start doing stuff, because you know that some people they're looking for that next direction from you. So when I prepare my messages, I'm asking the Holy Spirit when which what is it? Help me know this. What do they need to hear? so that I'm not just going with what my thinking is or maybe what's trending. Yeah, sometimes you will do that, but most of the time, we really do make an effort to find out what is God saying. Um, but beyond the pulpit ministry, there's so much of ministry that out there, counseling and ministry of helps and ministry of administration and teaching and so many things. The ministry is so wide. But I've been blessed. I am a seriously blessed person, as you've already observed, because I also have a television show that I do ministry that talks on social vices, social issues, not just social issues. We do some other entertainment stuff, Women's Show with Pastor Funke, and it's on, it's on the internet, it's on television, DSTV in Nigeria. And we talk about all kinds of things. The last show that was aired just 2 nights ago was on IVF and Christian couples, and what can they do? So my focus is to look at things that people shy away from. We've talked about rape and domestic violence and dementia, how to treat old people, just all kinds of social vices. We've had shows on teens, on the Gen Zs. Had a couple of them on our show. So there are many, many things that we look at. And again, it's to push the word out, to push Christian values, to push love for God, love for self, and love for neighbor.
Wow. It's for me, I sort of feel like it's a lot of work, and sometimes it might be overwhelming, you being a human being, because if you say somebody's a man of God, I think they are first of all a man before they are a man of God. So it takes like a lot of grace to be able to hold on to that responsibility and, of course, deliver it successfully. I pray for more grace, upon your life for for more success in the ministry. So, what would you say you are generally like most proud of, entirely in life? Generally, like what are those things that you are like really proud of as a person?
Oh, I mean, I think my family. I'm thankful, that God's given me the husband that He's given me is a man that supports me. I mean, wholeheartedly. It's kind of rare. As you said, I'm a woman of many parts. I'm into this, I'm into that. I'm doing business, and I'm doing business on both sides of the Atlantic. So my hands are full with business. I'm lead pastor of a church, if he allows me to do that. I'm a television show presenter, and that's a lot of work. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. So I think it will be, just thankful to God for the family that He's given me, my husband, my children. They're good people, good adults. I'm extremely proud of both of them. They love God, they fear God. They're grounded. And so I think then the next would be my role as a pastor. I'm most thankful for that. I mean, I think of it very highly because I know my word carries weight. When I say things, it's weighty. It's weighty because it's life, and words, that I speak, this is their word, their life, right? And when you speak the word of God, I know my word can bring life and it can bring death. And so, I'm thankful and proud of the ministry we have. I have great great people that work with me, great men and women that work with me. So, you know, they make it easy, you know.
Wow.
So, yeah, I thank God
Wow.
for grace. I really do.
Definitely can only be God's grace. So, what are your hobbies and your personal interests?
Hobbies, when I find the time these days, one of the things we do now, travel, that's, my husband and I, especially now the children are grown, um, traveling is becoming something we do, go on cruises, go to here and there. Um, Reading when I find the time. I love dancing. I don't do it as much as I used to. Um, I love to play word games on my phone. I love that. I love to engage my brain. And so, yeah, I mean, I love I love spending time with people that I'm very comfortable with, have
Interested.
fun, talk. Yeah.
Interested. So, before I ask you the next question, we're going to say this, right? So, so far, from observing and speaking with you, I like to say that you have your hands, your fingers in many pies, right? And there's this saying where they say, be a jack of all trades and a master of none. But then for me, I feel like a jack of many trades and a master of many. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
so, so that being said, right? Like, what skills or competences, or abilities do you have, but people do not really know about, but you are proud of, those skills? So I'll give an example. For me, for a long time, like a lot of people do not know that I'm a very great chef, right? They just probably know me for communication, for finance, right? But then people really did not know that I could cook, I can chef it up, until like I started cooking for like large groups of people, and people from different bases say, "Oh, I enjoy your food," and then it started giving me like a lot of, when I say joy and more confidence that yeah, I could do so many things, I could do all things. I could do all things through Christ that strengthens me. So like what are those those few things that
Well,
people don't really know?
I don't know. I think probably maybe many people may not know that I'm very analytically minded. I have very a mind that analyzes things. So many people may not know that. Um, what else? Because many of my days I'm occupied in either my office in church or my office in the market, my secular work. And so people tend to see me as this very serious person. She's the boss here, she's boss there. And, so I'm in my role as a leader. And many people don't realize that when I'm out of all of that, I'm very relaxed. So, when I'm in church, my mind is, I'm serious, here I'm serious at the office. So people probably don't know that when they see me, because the lady once said to me, she says, I've known you for so many years. I'm seeing you at home. They were visiting me at home. She says, you're so relaxed and you're so looking different. You're so much fun. And, so people have a tendency to think that, you're always that serious person who's on the pulpit or who is in the office and who's telling this, do that, and directing meetings and things like. But no, yeah. But I do like to let my hair down, have fun, play. I love playing with children. I'm always with the newest baby around. So yeah, those types of things.
Interesting. So we don't get to come
Yeah.
across, sages, with so much wisdom like yourself every day. So before we let you go, we need to squeeze out, a few nuggets from you. And of course, I would love for you to, advise young people in terms of, picking a life partner? Like, what are those things to look out for in terms of picking a life partner? Again, let's break it down. It's in three parts, right? Picking a life partner, savings and investment, and planning for retirement. So, what nuggets would you give in those respects? So, do we break
Okay.
it down? Do we picking a life partner first?
Well, let me talk about the life partner first, because for me, the choice of a life partner is one of the most important choices you're going to make in life. If you miss it at that point, it's going to affect your ability to save, to even have, let alone save and be successful, right? Choosing that life partner is something that is so critical, and not just for women or men. It's for both genders, but you must be careful. So what should you look for? Okay, one of the first things that I always say is that pick a partner that has shares your core values, your love for God, right? It must come first. Absolutely must come first. And sometimes, you say that people think, oh, yes, of course, he's a Christian. And I'll say, okay, all right, he's a Christian, but tell me about him. Does he read his Bible? Hey, well, does he serve in his church? Does he go to church? Oh, I know he loves God. And all those things have an impact. The second point, somebody that gives you peace. Peace is absolutely important, very important. You must find somebody that gives you peace. That person that you can talk to without feeling like, oh my God, if I say this thing, you may end up in a quarrel. And so you can't talk. Talk is important. Talk is very important. God gave us the ability to talk. If you marry somebody that you're always swallowing your words, it's going to be a very long life. So that's very important. And there are men that have told me, if I want to say something, she will shut me up. If I want to say this, she will say, I'm too this, I'm too bossy, and I'm too this, especially for people in your generation. So the man and the woman both should be able to express what they have to say without fearing that their partner is either going to throw a tantrum or will not speak to them, so that's important. Look, life is already complicated for many people. Why now complicate it by having a partner that's going to make you shut up? So everything you have to say has to be said to yourself. You can never share it. That's very, very important. Okay. So somebody who loves God, somebody who has your values, somebody that you can truly communicate with. Okay. Then maybe perhaps the other thing I would like to say is before you decide that you're going to marry anybody, you need to have wisdom yourself. Who are you? Who are they? Do you understand them? And do you have the wisdom to deal with them?
Mm. Wow, thank you very much for those nuggets. So I think up next is savings and investment, because these are very important,
Yeah.
activities for living
Oh,
a successful life.
so absolutely. Start early. That's the best. Whatever you're going to do, start it early. Get advice, right? Talk to people. Know where to put money, but whatever you do, save early. There'll be times in your future that you're going to find, so it's going to be like that when you leave school, you're going to have that big season of making money, and the reason is you may not even make a whole lot, but you're spending less because you have less responsibility. That's when you save. When you marry, you start having children, your savings is going to decrease just by virtue of the fact that there are more of you, there are many needs. And then it's going to swing around when you finish training your children, you've paid off your mortgage, then you're going to have some money again. So that's how it kind of works. And then when the older you get, the less you need. Let's face it. You're not going to go out and buy a new car every 4 or 5 years. You're not going to go and buy the Gucci bag. You don't even care about things like that anyway. So you then have the money again you need. So save money, but also make sure that as you're saving, you're also learning to live, right? But start early, start your savings early.
Mm. How about like planning for retirement? Like, and I
Well,
had to put this, given the fact that the person I'm talking to, has been able to successfully, achieve these feats. So please, let there be something for those people who are also close to that age, and how to go about this. Like, how do you plan a proper retirement?
plan for your retirement. Well, what I say to people, especially when you hit 40, 40, you need to spend at least 30 minutes a day thinking about you.
Mm.
30 minutes a day. True. Think about you. Because you see, when you're working, especially when you're succeeding, you're climbing the corporate ladder, it's about the organization 24/7, because you're driving, you're looking at it, you're thinking of the next promotion and the next this and the next that. But you must stop and think, what about my future? And then as you get close to 50, because most corporations, most organizations, 50 it's not guaranteed, right? You may be retired early for, you never know, right? There may be downsizing, there may be this, there may be that. Now, you must learn the trick of using what you have to get what you want. Okay. See those skills that you're getting, those businesses that you're learning, you need to begin to think about them towards something you can do later. Okay. So you need to think about it. Now, I'm not retired. I could be. I've left work. I've actually twice retired, if you want to know the truth. But I run my own business now. Okay. What's good about it is I don't have to do 8 hours a day. Well, I mean, I do more than 8 hours really, but I don't have to start at 8 and close at 5. I'm in my office. I have my staff. I have to do things. So, but if I had not started to think about what I could do when I was still working for somebody else, I would have come out without an idea.
Mm.
But if you start thinking when you're about 45, you're beginning to think of 50, what could I do? You start making forming some of those contacts, thinking about how you could apply some of that to you if you were running your business, because you cannot give what you don't have, and what you have is what you're given, and that is the opportunities you have when you're still working. And the Bible supports it. You know that man, before that his boss called him to come and make an account, and he said, look, to lie I cannot do, to dig I will go and do this. Before he left his boss, he had already prepared what could happen for him, right? That parable. So that's what you do. You start thinking. Don't wait till you finish. Then you now get whatever bit of pension or whatever. Pensions are not made to really get you like that. You pay your mortgage, then you may have a little bit that you're living on. But if you already have a plan, you can already start saving towards it. You can already start working towards it, having a game plan. Okay, this is what I like now. Can I do something that's connected to this? Let's say you work for an oil company. You can think to yourself, well, maybe can I be one of their contractors? Can I do this? Can I do that? It's right when you're at work that you can make those contacts.
Mm.
Or
Interesting.
at
So,
least, at the very minimum, get the knowledge that you need.
mm, wow, lactose of wisdom nuggets right there. So, there's something I like to say. There is no success without a successor, right? So, I will. Can you give your thoughts on succession planning? That is having successors, and planning for taking over businesses, taking over assets. A lot of people go to be with the Lord earlier than they intended or thought they would be, right? So, um, different forms of succession planning, and what would you advise people regarding that?
Okay, with succession planning, basically, it's good to think about it. If you're running a corporation, or if you're running your own business, it's important to think about who would run that business when you're not there. And basically, what it is you have to start giving them, and already you've basically first identified those people that you think can do that for you. And then whilst you're there, you're already giving them the knowledge they need, and you're already testing them. That's how you plan succession. You don't say, oh, this person is going to be a good person to do it, and they never learned anything from you. They never knew how to do the job, but they never knew anything about it. They never tried and failed in your very presence so that you could help them come out. And so that's the best way to do succession planning.
Interesting. Thank you very much, Mel. So at the end of the podcast, we have a tradition. You get a question from the previous guest, and then you drop a question for the next guest. So the previous guest who was on the show, he dropped a question. He said, assuming, God forbid, that you had 1 week to be with the Lord, right? So what would be the most important things you would want to do in that last 1 week?
I That's for people who don't plan for, if you, I think that if you live your life, um, with knowledge that you're gonna go to be with God at some point, um, you're not gonna be scrambling,
Mm,
scrambling and running around. Oh, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Um, I think anybody that, had that blessing of knowing, especially when you already lived your life, you basically want to just, be at peace, get your loved ones around you. Like our fathers, patriarchs in the Bible, they will get the best, they bless the people around them. That's a blessing. That's the kind of passing that I would want. I pray for, when you're old, and then, but I think a lot of people don't think about the end, and so they kind of start scrambling. Oh, should I go and do this? Should go and do that. So
Interesting. So, what would be the question you would like to leave for the next guest to answer?
question for the next guest. Um, um, you know, I guess I would, maybe ask them that, you know, what would they want to do that would be meaningful, in the lives of those around them for this year?
Or the like to do that would be meaningful in the lives of those around them in this year. Wow. Thank you very much. They have their work cut out for them. And of course, I have, a very big premium on an attitude of gratitude. I want to say once again, thank you very much for sparing, a time from your very, very busy schedule to share your wisdom with us on the Kingdoms podcast. God bless you, and God keep you. God multiply you. Thank you very much once again. Just before you
You're
leave, do you want to
welcome.
give a shout out to anybody? Do you want to shout out to anybody before you go?
Oh, all good people out there. God bless you. A happy new year in
Oh,
Jesus'
wow.
name.
Thank you very much. Wow. Thank you very
All
much.
right,
God
dear.
bless you.
Bye.
Okay.
My pleasure. Bye.